Welcome to the Michigan State Hockey Hub weekend preview. We have our first guest on, Nate Bott, who's a sports reporter with the Lansing State, or excuse me, the Lansing Sports Journal. Nate, why don't you just tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you landed at LSJ?
Yeah, I'm from Warren, Michigan, right outside of Detroit. Grew up there, went to Michigan State from 2013 to 2017, and then in 2018 I started with the State Journal, covering mostly preps, and yeah, then it's just kind of evolved to cover yeah over 40 area high schools, and then Michigan State hockey.
Now, how long have you been covering hockey? It's been a couple of years, or has it been the entire time since you graduated?
This is the I've been at LSJ about 3.5, almost four
Okay.
years, and I've covered the. This is my third full season covering Michigan
Okay.
State hockey.
Yeah. Well, as we know, Michigan State hockey, especially in the time you've been there, has not really been very good. However, this year's off to a great start. Um, right now, Michigan State stands at 8-5-1, 3-3 in the Big Ten for 9 points, and that puts them in fifth place in the Big Ten. What do you think the difference is in this team compared to, the other teams you've covered in previous years that weren't as successful?
Yeah, I think it starts. The main point is just it starts with the depth offensively. You have four lines who are capable of creating some you know energizing moments in the offensive zone. And before when I first started covering, it's pretty much the KHL line, and then
Yeah.
outside of that, you're lucky to get two or three goals in a weekend from anyone outside of that line. And now this year, I mean, you have your top three lines are producing at a pretty good rate. You're getting a lot of um, scoring from your defensemen as well. I mean, if you can get some of those defensemen like Cole Krieger to get two goals already this year. Sasana's got three now. David Gucciardi's always an offensive presence. So I think just from the depth of scoring has really been the big difference so far.
Yeah, and I noticed the same thing when the season first started. I was a little bit worried about the depth, and it as it is with college hockey, especially at Michigan State. There's not nearly the coverage with prospects coming in. And I know that you even wrote some about prospects and the transfers before the season. But you get somebody like Jesse Tucker, and you're just kind of unsure. You can look at his stats, but it's hard to say. The competition levels in these junior leagues and kind of the minors beforehand. But yeah, Jesse Tucker and Gucci especially too from the D man. I mean, they're definitely creating some offense. So I definitely like what I've seen. Now, who are some players that you think have kind of taken a step forward this year in particular compared to last year?
Sure. I think it starts with Josh Nadler. I think him being on the line with two guys like Griffin Lochran, who's a great forechecker and kind of a pest, and but it's also good with the puck on his stick. And then Middendorf, who's just a big body, really works well along the boards. Good offensive sense, and then just throwing him in there. He's been good in the dot. He's been taking advantage of more chances, and he's finding the open area on the ice. I think he's been one of the real bright spots. And then he wasn't on the team last year, but I don't think anyone around Michigan State hockey was expecting Jeremy Davidson to be doing what he's doing right now. And I think that really starts with Lewandowski being him as the opposite wing. I mean, he's got seven. Davidson has 7 goals on the year, and I mean, all of them have come pretty much from a primary assist from Lewandowski. So those two are working really well together, and to get that kind of um, advanced scoring from a guy like Davidson, who maybe weren't expecting it, to start the year, that's been a big key.
Yeah, and Nodler specifically was somebody who I thought when he came into college, he might have came a year earlier than what some people expected, and he's been stronger on the boards, a little bit more patient, and you can just see, there's a reason why he was drafted. You can see his hockey sense at times, and making passes that many players on this team can't make, finding spots to create offense. I've really liked what I've seen from him. Yeah, and Davidson, I did not know what to expect when he came in, and he's put together some great games, scored some huge goals for this team. And you can just see when Lewandowski's out of the lineup when he was injured. I mean, this team's just totally different. They
Absolutely.
don't.
You look at Lewandowski; they go 1-4 without him. They, kind of steal a game at Ohio State. But I mean, that Davidson line with Pap or whoever was the center, they didn't have a point in the 5 games that Lewandowski was out.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
all of that production from Davidson and Pap have come from Lewandowski being in the lineup. And then your point on Nodler too, I think that's the biggest thing. He's gotten so much stronger, and he can handle the puck along the boards. So he's the first 2 years, especially his first year. I mean, he'd get the puck on the boards, and he'd just get bodied off of it. And I think he's really improved in that, and I think that's also helped in the faceoff circle being a little stronger and more aggressive. He's turned in a pretty good clip from the dot.
Right. Now, who are some players that you think can still take a step forward? I know you mentioned Christoph Pap, who's a really talented player, still trying to find that first goal. I think he's had in his career, he's probably hit like 5 posts. But who are a few players that you think can still, even by the end of this year, take a step forward and maybe step up and provide a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it starts with Pap. I mean, he's had 2 goals this year called off,
Yeah.
which has been tough for him. But he's creating a little bit. You think he had a couple games there in that Ferris series where you could kind of sit back again and just kind of watch the game from afar rather than be on the ice. I think Dan Cole did that last year with him, and then those games after he played pretty well. Um, I think Nico Mueller. He does a lot of things well. He's a great, first unit penalty kill with Jagger Joshua. Um, he's pretty good in the faceoff circle as well. Um, he's had he's had some chances that I think the coaching staff expects him to convert on. He's had a couple breakaways where he's missed wide. He's had a few chances, just that he's just not doesn't seem to be finding a shot. The accuracy seems to be a little off, but he does a lot of other things well. But I think if Michigan State could get some production from him, being on that line with Jagger and Tanner Kelly, Tanner Kelly, you look at the way he's played in his stat line, to see him without a point on the year is like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? You think the way he plays, you think he'd be on the scoring sheet, but yeah, I think Nico and Pap, if they can get some more goals from that second and third line center spot, I think that'd be a big help.
Yeah, and Kelly's one of these guys that I love watching him play. He's pestering as hell. He's
Hmm.
quick. I like to compare him to just like his style to Brandon Hagel, who plays for the Blackhawks, kind of an undersized guy who's just all over the ice. You hate playing against him, but he reminds me a lot of Connor Wood when Connor Wood was at Michigan State, where he's kind of a I don't know if I'd say grinder, but he's just pestering to play against 110% all the time. I know he missed an open net against Michigan. I think he may have had another big scoring chance that he missed against I don't remember who,
There was
but
one at Ferris where,
Ferris. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, on the power play, he put it just wide.
He
But yeah, the
he's
one
gonna
against
score a
Michigan
few
was.
goals this season for sure. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like Jesse Tucker. I mean, the last game that Michigan State played with Zab was his first goal,
Mhm.
and it's just kind of hard to believe, especially with him being like on the power play and stuff too. But they're creating a lot of chances. I think one thing that uh, Dan Cole tracks a lot is grade A scoring chances. Not he's not as concerned with just shots on goal or shots on net. He's more looking at those opportunities and those really good scoring chances that they've created. And he looked at the Ferris State series and the Wisconsin series, and all 4 games they had over 20 that they classified as grade A scoring chances. Which, I mean, last year I think they had maybe 5 or 6 games total where they had over
Yeah.
20. So the way that they're playing offensively and the opportunities that they're generating have been at probably the highest clip that any team under Dan Cole's had so far.
Yeah, and a lot of that is with the, transfers or newly brought in players like Middendorf, who I always say that the thing about Middendorf that I just love watching is he is so poised and calm with the stick on his puck or the puck on his stick. And he just seems to slow the game down for him. And that's huge. I know Lewandowski kind of has that at times too. But so often with, especially in college hockey, we see kind of a rushed approach with some players. So Middendorf is just somebody who I'm really impressed with, and he's going to continue to get better. I mean, he's going to score more and more and more. Um, and all of his goals have been very clutch. I think he has 3 game winning goals this year.
They have 4 game winners.
4, well, yeah. So he's definitely a player that has really impressed so far in year 1 with Michigan State. What do you think the ceiling is for this 2021-2022 team?
It's a good question. If they're playing the way like they did, 2 weekends ago against Wisconsin, then I mean, I think you're looking at a team that could sneak up into maybe third in the Big Ten. Probably no lower than fourth. But I don't know if anyone's going to be up there competing with Michigan at the end of the year. But and Minnesota and Notre Dame have been really good. But I mean, if they keep up play like this, and maybe they take care of business against the teams like when they get Ohio State at home, and when they play Wisconsin again, this Penn State is probably the a good test of pretty equal
Yeah.
teams. If they're able to take care of business in those games, and then go and split a series with Minnesota, maybe go and get a win and tie against Notre Dame. I think you might be looking at a team who might find themselves, in the top 20, as a regular, and maybe even find their way into the NCAA tournament conversation.
Yeah, they received 3 votes for the top 20 this week. And I do agree that third spot in the Big Ten, I think it's Michigan and Minnesota are kind of the top of the Big Ten. But that third spot, Notre Dame looks good. Um, I still think it's pretty open. And that's the good thing about it is, they're MSU will have plenty of chances to improve the resume. Sometimes in like football, this happens where you have you get off to a shaky start or you go 500, and then you really don't have much of a chance to build up your your resume afterwards. Well, now we're playing all Big Ten games besides the GLI in late December, so they're going to have a lot of chances against these teams. They haven't even played Minnesota yet. So, yeah, but transitioning to this weekend's games, um, Penn State is a team that right now is, I guess you can say, underperforming in the Big Ten. They're pretty similar record to Michigan State at 9-6, 1-5 in the Big Ten, 3 points. That's last in the Big Ten. What do you think so far of Penn State?
I mean, outside of really, they went to North Dakota and got a win there. That was impressive. Yeah, no, and then they split against Minnesota. Minnesota is obviously a very tough team to play against, but I mean, you look at their other wins. I mean, you got wins over, you sweep Long Island, Brooklyn, you sweep, Niagara, you sweep St. Thomas. I mean, those are some of the lower, pretty much bottom
Yeah.
dweller teams in all of NCAA. So, and they've come through in a couple times, like North Dakota, Minnesota, but then against the real stiff competition, they haven't looked particularly great. Penn State, they're somewhat easy to prepare because you know what they're going to do. They're going to cross the blue line. They're going to put pucks on net. They're going to crash the net. And I think a goaltender like Truder Ritter is a pretty good weapon to have against that. He's not a super aggressive goaltender. He's extremely confident between the pipes. He doesn't make a lot of risky plays. You look at any puck that comes over the blue line to him, he's going to hold on to it. He's going to trust his team to win in the faceoff circle, and he's not gonna take any unnecessary chances or risks. So it's still tough to see. Penn State, they have a few guys who obviously have put up a lot of points, but that'll happen when you're playing some of the lower teams in your non-conference. So we'll see. It'll be a rowdy barn there in Pagula. That's one of the better road environments, in all of college hockey. They have a real rowdy student section,
Yeah.
so it should be a good test for MSU.
Yeah, and speaking of Drew DeRitter, he's really going to have to be on point against Penn State. They lead the NCAA with 36.4 shots per game. Do you think Cole will go with DeRitter? Now, in the beginning of the year, they were splitting, and Drew DeRitter has kind of started to take multiple starts back to back now. And I mean, he's one of the best. He's a top five goalie in college hockey right now, statistically. Do you think Cole will roll with him both games?
Unless they come out real flat Friday night and DeRitter
Yeah.
gives up 5 or 6 goals. Yeah, I would expect DeRitter to start both games. I think it kind of lit a fire under him after not starting at Michigan. And Charleston giving up 7 there. Then he comes back, a real solid second and third period against Michigan. Now he's riding a 4-game winning streak. So I don't think, yeah, I wouldn't expect to see any Pierce Charleston this weekend. I expect it to be all DeRitter.
Yeah. Penn State has a couple of guys on that top line who are really generating a lot of offense for them. Kevin Wall, who leads the team in points, 16 points, 10 goals, 6 assists, and Ben Copeland, who's 4 goals, 10 assists for 14 points. How do you think Michigan State will try to limit their offense? And do you think it's going to be a top line matchup, or do you think Cole will go with maybe more of a defensive line against them, or how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I'd expect either a top line matchup or you'd see the Mueller Kelly Joshua line going up against them a lot. I don't necessarily think Michigan State's that concerned with slowing down a particular line. I think they're more concerned with just making sure that Penn State's not getting odd man rushes. They're not getting a lot of power play time. I think that's their concern. I think it was really good for DeRitter in this defense to see a team like Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, who plays very similar to Penn State, where DeRitter saved over 40 shots both games against Wisconsin. They put a lot of pucks on net, but Michigan State did a good job at limiting those odd man rushes and those grade A scoring chances. And as long as they're able to do that, I think the defense and DeRitter are confident in themselves, and they'll be fine with Penn State taking 45 shots on goal if they only give up 2 or 3 really quality scoring chances.
Yeah, absolutely. Penn State's goalie Oscar Audio is a 902 save percentage, 2.52 goals per game. How do you think he kind of stacks up compared to some other goalies that Michigan State's faced? I don't think he's the best goalie that MSU's faced this year. Um, but what do you think of him so far?
Yeah, I think he's a pretty quality netminder. He's a senior guy. He's been around for a while. He's a little more aggressive in the net, but he's come up with some really really big saves. This year especially. When North Dakota is threatening to come back, Minnesota's threatening to come back with an extra skater. He came up real big. I'd probably put him around around the middle of the pack of goaltenders that Michigan State's seen. I think he's probably a middle of the pack goaltender in the Big Ten. He's probably a little better than what they saw in Jared Moe. He's probably a little better than Ohio State's keeper. I don't know if he's up there with an Eric Portillo or with a guy like they saw against UMass Lowell, but I think he's pretty decent. But he's had some pretty good success against MSU too. So yeah, we'll see how he performs.
Okay. So a couple of keys to the game. Michigan State wins if what?
Michigan State wins if the defense limits the scoring opportunities from Penn State, and keeps them pretty tamed. Like I said, they're content with giving up shots on goal. That they're confident that DeRitter's going to save pretty much anything that he sees. And then I think one of the real keys is going to be in that faceoff circle. Penn State's the worst team in the Big Ten in the dot, and Michigan State in the past has been one of the better teams, but this year they're actually 6th right now in the Big Ten in faceoff win percentage. I think this is a weekend where they can get some confidence back in that regard. And like I said, DeRitter's a goalie who's going to cover up pretty much everything that comes to him. So you're going to have a lot of defensive zone faceoffs that that's where Penn State can be dangerous. If they win that faceoff, that puck's going right at the net,
Yeah.
from whatever defenseman, wins, ends up with the puck on his stick. So, and those are the chances where, right off a faceoff, then everyone goes to the net, that puck slides through, DeRitter saves pretty much everything that he's able to get his eye on. It's where he's got a lot of traffic in front, and that you can't see it. Those are the goals that have gotten by him this year. So I think winning the faceoff circle is going to be a real big key for the Spartans.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And in the past, they've had Tommy Apap, who was just phenomenal in the
Yeah,
faceoff dot.
just a weapon.
Yeah, he's in the ECHL with the Indy Fuel now. But yeah, I think that's important as well. Cleaning up um, the bad penalties is something I say almost every game. Um, there's a couple particular players who will go unnamed who almost every week take what I think is either a frustration or a stupid penalty. With a team that shoots like this, the PK's been pretty good, but you just don't want to give them any extra opportunity. They're already going to be firing pucks on net. The last thing that you want is to give them the man advantage. So before we get you out here, we have to know predictions. So what do you predict for Friday and Saturday night?
I think it seemed like I practiced on Tuesday when we were able to see there and talk to some of the guys. Looks like they're pretty excited to be in Pagula. They've had some of those guys there have had some good success. Guys like Dennis Asana, especially, had some good success playing on the road at Penn State. But then you got a lot of freshmen who kind of finally got that first experience when they went to Yost of really a student section that's gonna be loud and they're gonna be on you all game. I think that helped prepare them. I'll go with a Friday night tie, and I'll go with a Saturday night MSU win. They'll clean some stuff up and get out of Happy Valley with four Big Ten points.
Yeah, and if that's the case, that's awesome. Getting points both nights would be huge. Well, I do have one more question for you, and this
Sure.
was not sent to you beforehand. Most people probably know, you work with everyone's favorite Graham Couch.
Mm-hmm.
Graham claims that he's a good basketball player. Who would win a one-on-one basketball game between you and Graham?
I think I'm too big of a body for him to handle. I think I'd be able to work him in the post pretty well. He's got a pretty wet jumper, but relying on the jump shots when I'm getting easy layups, it'll be tough. So I'll take me in that one-on-one battle.
Yeah, my goal in one-on-one is just hard fouls. Foul him as hard as you can early. Make him just, be
Wear him
bruised at
down.
the line. Yeah, if you're playing to 21, by the time he has 14, he'll be tired and totally scared of you as well. So that's always a good strategy. But
Sure.
thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. We know how busy you are this time of the year. So if you all do not follow Nate, his ad is below, and I'll put it in the description as well. But thank you so much, and keep up the great work covering the hockey team.
Of course, man. Thanks so much for having me anytime.
All right, have a good one.
Yep, you too.
Bye.